Every woman has a story, not just the glamorous parts that make it to Instagram, the promotion that made everyone clap, or the love story that looks picture perfect. I'm talking about the late night tears, the quiet disappointments, the dreams that were laughed at, the moments when you doubted yourself so deeply that giving up felt easier than going on. Yes, those chapters matter, and I want you to own them. All of them. Confidence doesn't come from always getting it right. It comes from being comfortable with getting it wrong and still choosing to move forward. In 2025, a confident girl isn't the one who hides her past. She's the one she's not defined by the labels society tried to stick on her. She defines herself on her own terms, using her own voice, and most importantly, using her own truth. I think we've all been conditioned to curate ourselves, to filter not just our pictures, but our personalities, to smile even when we're tired, to shrink when we should be shining. But the real game changer happens when you stop apologizing for the parts of your story that aren't neat or pretty. When you stop being ashamed of the things you've been through and start seeing them as fuel. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You just need to be real. I've been told many times that I'm too ambitious, too outspoken, too confident. But here's the thing. I'd rather be too much than be invisible. And that only became possible when I started to embrace every chapter of my journey. The wins, yes, but also the losses. The moments when I was scared. The moments I failed. The moments I didn't know who I was. Because those moments taught me something that success never could: resilience. A confident girl in 2025 understands that her story isn't something to hide. It's something to wear like armor. And that doesn't mean you have to share everything with the world. Confidence isn't about exposure. It's about ownership. You don't need validation from anyone else when you've already accepted yourself. When you stand tall in your own narrative, you stop seeking permission to exist loudly. Think about the people you admire, the ones who make you feel something, the ones who walk into a room and command it without even trying. What do they have in common? It's not that they've lived perfect lives. It's that they know who they are. They've taken the time to understand their story, and they've made peace with it. That kind of energy is magnetic, and it's available to you right now if you're brave enough to face yourself fully. There will always be people who try to define you by one moment, one mistake, one phase of your life. But that's like judging a book by a single paragraph. You are not one chapter. You are the whole novel. And every experience, good, bad, confusing, magical, is part of what makes you who you are. When you embrace all of it, you take your power back. We often talk about confidence like it's a performance. But real confidence doesn't shout. It speaks with calm. It doesn't need attention. It carries presence. And that kind of confidence is born when you stop running from your past and start using it to build your future. Every heartbreak, every failure, every no you received, it wasn't there to break you. It was there to shape you. I remember moments in my life when I was told I wouldn't succeed, that I didn't belong, that I should play smaller. But every time I doubted myself, I remembered where I came from, the lessons I learned from my parents, the quiet strength I saw in my mother, the stubborn fire that grew inside me every time someone underestimated me. Those memories became my foundation. That's what I mean by owning your story. It becomes the soil where your confidence grows. If there's one message I want every girl to carry in 2025, it's this: your story matters, your voice matters, and no one gets to rewrite it but you. Don't edit yourself to fit in. Don't dim your light to make others comfortable. Don't pretend you're someone else just to be accepted. The world doesn't need another version of someone else. It needs the bold, honest, beautifully imperfect story that only you can tell. You are the author of your life, not your past, not your critics, not the world. You. And once you own that, once you step fully into who you are, you become unstoppable. So write your story, live your truth, and never be afraid to read it out loud. There comes a time in every woman's life when she realizes that being everything for everyone is not the path to peace, power, or purpose. In fact, it's the fastest way to burn out. resentment, and forgetting who you really are. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-respect. And confident girls in 2025 have learned that when you protect your peace, you protect your power. Too many of us were taught to be nice at all costs, to say yes even when our bodies scream no, to accept more than we should, stay longer than we want to, and smile through things that break us. We were raised to think that being agreeable was being kind, and that saying no made us difficult. But here's the truth. Kindness without boundaries turns into self-abandonment. And the woman who keeps abandoning herself to keep others happy is not confident, she's tired. And in 2025, tired is no longer the goal. Fulfilled is. A confident girl knows that her time, energy, and emotional bandwidth are limited resources. She treats them like gold. She doesn't give them away out of guilt. She gives them with intention, and she knows how to say no without feeling like she owes anyone an explanation. She's not rude. She's clear, and that clarity sets the tone for how others treat her. The way people treat you is often a reflection of what you allow. And when you tolerate disrespect, overextension, or emotional manipulation, you train people to expect it from you. But when you draw a line, when you say, "This is what I accept, and this is what I won't," something powerful happens. People either rise to meet your standard, or they remove themselves. Either way, you win. Boundaries are not about keeping people out. They're about letting the right people in, and letting them meet the real you, not the version of you that's always performing, pleasing, or pretending. A confident girl doesn't fear losing people who can't handle her truth. She understands that anyone who leaves because she chose herself was never meant to stay. There's a quiet power in being unavailable to chaos, in walking away from conversations that drain you, roles that box you in, or expectations that were never yours to carry. There is strength in pausing before agreeing, in asking yourself, does this serve me? Do I want to do this, or do I feel obligated? Confident girls pause. They assess, they decide, and they understand that their decisions don't need to make sense to anyone else. Boundaries show up in every area of your life. In your friendships, they look like not tolerating one-sided support. In your family, they look like refusing to be guilt-tripped or emotionally manipulated. In your career, they look like saying no to work that compromises your values or declining opportunities that don't align with your bigger vision. And in love, boundaries are everything. Because love without respect is not love, it's dependency. And no woman should ever have to shrink herself to be loved. Sometimes setting a boundary feels uncomfortable. That's okay. Discomfort is not danger, it's growth. It's the feeling of stepping into a new version of yourself that no longer accepts crumbs when she deserves a feast. It's what happens when you choose your peace over pleasing. When you say, I matter too, even when your voice shakes. That's confidence in action. It's not always glamorous, but it's always worth it. We live in a world that celebrates hustle, availability, and doing the most. But the confident woman in 2025 isn't trying to prove her worth through exhaustion. She's not interested in being everything to everyone. She's focused on being whole for herself. She values her own company. She rests without guilt. She protects her mental health like it's sacred, because it is. And she doesn't negotiate her boundaries just to make someone else more comfortable. When you start setting boundaries, people might get upset. That's natural, especially if they were benefiting from your lack of them. But remember, their reaction doesn't mean you're wrong. It means the dynamic is shifting, and not everyone is ready for your growth. Don't let that pull you back. You're not here to stay small. You're here to evolve. A boundary is a line drawn in love, not just for others, but for yourself. It says, I know what I need to feel safe, respected, and whole. It says, I won't abandon myself to be liked. And most importantly, it says, I am worth protecting. A confident girl doesn't need the world to approve of her boundaries. She only needs to honor them herself. So, say no when you mean no. Leave the room if it's toxic. Turn off your phone if it's stealing your peace. Speak up if something doesn't feel right. Walk away if your value is being compromised. You are not too much. You are not too strong. You are exactly who you need to be, And boundaries are how you keep her intact. Confidence isn't just in how you walk into a room. It's in how you decide who gets access to you, how much, and on what terms. In 2025, we're not dimming our light, draining our energy, or deleting our needs to keep the peace. We are setting the terms of our lives like a boss. Growth isn't a straight line. It's messy, uncomfortable, and full of moments where you have to admit, I didn't know better then. And that's okay. Confidence doesn't mean you know everything. It means you're brave enough to keep learning, humble enough to admit when you're wrong, and bold enough to change when you outgrow your old beliefs. In a world that's evolving faster than ever, the smartest, most confident girl in 2025 knows that her real superpower lies in her ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Learning is not just what you get from school, a job, or a book. It's everything life throws at you. Every person you meet, every challenge you face, every experience that knocks you down and forces you to rise differently. That's learning. The kind that shapes your thinking, expands your vision, and reminds you that every version of you was necessary for the one you are today. But sometimes, growth requires more than learning. It demands that you unlearn. And this is the hard part. Because unlearning asks you to question things you believed for years. It means letting go of the stories you were told about who you should be, what success looks like, how love should feel, or what a woman's role is. It means confronting bias, unlearning fear, and breaking cycles. Sometimes ones you've lived in your whole life. Unlearning asks you to go deeper. It whispers, adjust because it's familiar doesn't mean it's right. And that's where confidence comes in. Because it takes a whole lot of courage to say, maybe I've been wrong about this. Not because you failed, but because you're human, and growth never happens in comfort zones. There's strength in admitting that something you believed 10 years ago, or even 10 weeks ago, no longer serves you. There's power in saying, I thought this was the only way, but now I see something better. That's how you evolve. That's how you stay relevant. Not just in your work or your knowledge, but in your soul. The world is not standing still, and neither should you. Relearning is the third piece of this journey. And it's beautiful because it's a choice. It's the act of picking up a truth again. This time with more clarity, with more understanding, with a version of yourself that's ready to carry it differently. Maybe you relearn how to trust yourself after years of self-doubt. Maybe you relearn how to love, how to set boundaries, how to be seen. Maybe you relearn something simple, like joy, or stillness, or softness, after life has hardened you for too long. In 2025, a confident girl is not the one who has all the answers. She's the one who is constantly asking better questions. She's not afraid to admit she was wrong, or that she changed her mind. She doesn't fear new information. She welcomes it. She listens before she reacts. She reflects before she judges. And most importantly, she gives herself permission to evolve again and again. We live in a time where information is everywhere, but wisdom is a choice. It's easy to stay stuck in echo chambers, scrolling through opinions that only confirm what we already believe. But real growth asks you to step outside of that, to be uncomfortable, to sit with the unfamiliar, to challenge your own thinking. That's where transformation lives. Sometimes you'll unlearn things you didn't even know you were taught. The idea that your worth is tied to productivity, that you need to be perfect to be loved, that vulnerability is weakness, that your dreams are too big. These ideas are so ingrained in us, passed down quietly through generations, culture, media. But once you see them for what they are, just narratives, not truths, you can release them. You can write your own. This journey of learning, unlearning, and relearning is not linear. There will be setbacks. You'll make mistakes. You'll feel confused. But that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're in it. You're doing the work. You're becoming the kind of woman who doesn't fear growth. She chases it. And that kind of confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need validation. It simply shines. In a world that's always changing, the most powerful thing you can do is stay teachable. Not passive, teachable. It means you stay grounded in your values, but open in your perspective. It means you ask, you listen, you grow, It means you stay curious about the world and, more importantly, about yourself. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. You're supposed to keep figuring it out. Every day, with every experience, with every version of yourself. And when you approach life like that, there's no such thing as failure. There's only learning. There's only becoming. And there's only moving forward. So give yourself the grace to evolve. Release what no longer fits. Reclaim what you lost along the way. Keep learning, keep questioning, and above all, keep growing. That's what a confident girl does in 2025. She doesn't stay still, she doesn't stay small, she expands. With every lesson, every challenge, every step. That's not just confidence. That's freedom. Let me know if you'd like the final PowerPoint expanded as well. There is something incredibly powerful about a woman who walks into a room and celebrates other women just as fiercely as she celebrates herself. In a world that has tried to convince us we're each other's competition, choosing to support other women is nothing short of revolutionary. And in 2025, confident girls have figured out one essential truth: another woman's success is not your failure. We weren't taught this early on. In school, in workspaces, in subtle societal messages, we were often pitted against each other, compared, judged, ranked. We were told there was only room for one, the prettiest, the smartest, the most successful, as if one woman's light somehow dimmed our own, as if scarcity was the rule and abundance was just a dream. But it was never true. It was just a distraction, one designed to keep us small, silent, and separated. Confidence isn't threatened by someone else shining. Confidence claps. Confidence cheers. Confidence says, "She did it, and that means I can too." And the most magnetic, powerful women in the world are those who rise and bring others with them. Supporting another woman doesn't make you weaker. It makes you stronger. Because when we lift each other, we lift the standard. We build a world where women don't have to choose between being powerful and being kind. We show the next generation that success isn't a solo game. It's a collective rise. The woman next to you is not your rival. She's your reflection. Her victories are proof of what's possible. There's something beautiful about being the kind of woman who fixes another woman's crown without announcing it. Who sees someone struggling and extends a hand, not a judgment. Who isn't afraid to say, "You inspire me," or "Admire your strength," or "You belong here." That kind of woman leaves an impact long after she's gone, because she doesn't just build herself, she builds a legacy. But let's be honest, insecurity doesn't always show up with bad intentions. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it whispers, "Why not me?" Or, "What if I'm not enough?" And that's human. We've all felt it. But confidence means noticing that feeling and not letting it turn into jealousy, comparison, or resentment. It means taking a deep breath and reminding yourself that her journey isn't yours. Her timing isn't your timing. And there's enough room for all of us to shine. The truth is, every woman you admire has a story you don't fully see. The success, the confidence, the applause, it all came with its own sacrifices, its own battles, its own inner doubts. We all carry something. And when you realize that, it becomes easier to lead with empathy instead of envy. Supporting other women doesn't mean you never compete. It means you compete with integrity. It means you chase your goals without tearing someone else down in the process. It means you can want to win without needing someone else to lose. And that balance, that emotional maturity, is what sets confident girls apart in 25. It's also about presence. Sometimes supporting another woman isn't about public praise. It's about the way you speak about her when she's not in the room. It's about shutting down gossip. It's about saying her name in spaces that matter. It's about being someone others can trust. Because being supportive isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, and real. There's something deeply fulfilling about seeing another woman win and knowing you were part of her journey. Whether by mentoring, encouraging, or simply believing in her when she didn't believe in herself. That's impact. That's power. And that's the kind of woman the world needs more of right now. We are not meant to walk this journey alone. We are meant to link arms, to celebrate, to rise. When women come together without insecurity, magic happens. Ideas are born. Movements grow, barriers fall, we stop competing for space and start creating more of it. And that shift, it changes everything. You don't lose anything by supporting another woman. You gain something far more valuable: community, connection, trust. You gain the strength of sisterhood. And in that space, confidence grows. Because when you stand beside powerful women, you're reminded of your own power too. It's time to rewrite the narrative. The one that told us to compare, to compete, to shrink. The confident girl in 2025 knows that when another woman shines, it doesn't cast a shadow. It creates more light. She knows that celebrating others doesn't take anything away from her. And she knows that true confidence isn't just how you carry yourself. It's how you treat the women around you. So let's celebrate loudly. Let's support fully. Let's uplift without conditions. And let's be the kind of women who make room. For ourselves, for each other, and for every girl watching us, hoping she can do the same. Because she can. And so can you.